Raffaele Mautone is the founder and CEO of the Detroit-based AaDya Security. His thinking and effective leadership have been instrumental in his career as an IT sales and operations professional. In March of 2019, Raffaele experienced the IT and security industries inspired him to security with a mission to provide smart, simple, effective, and affordable cybersecurity solutions for small and medium business customers. Raffaele's consistent record of leading teams have served companies as Geo, Firefly, Cafe, and he also has experience in implementing marketing and positioning the company's future growth. So there's a great deal of entrepreneurship in here today. And developing applications and businesses sees improvement to assess the bookings, leads, and new go-to-market programs. Raffaele is a passionate supporter of Detroit's tech and startup and hosted several events to connect local founders with he holds a bachelor's degree from Houston University, and he is a proud alumnus and active alumnus and participates in student mentorship, providing support to the university by taking time, talent, and resources. Please help.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks for having me here today. It's an honor to be here. I am an Eastern Michigan alumni. I was back in the 90s, and this building was a little bit different at that time, so it's exciting to see the transformation. It's also exciting to see how cybersecurity, engineering, and IT is a big part of what you all are going to learn to be a part of. It definitely helps that we are a cybersecurity company in the marketplace and in your backyard. So the story how we built AaDya is informational, and then also what it's like to start and beyond, because there's a lot of glamour to it, but there's also a lot of things that I wish I would have done ahead of time 4 years later. So if you look at the landscape of cybersecurity today, it's saturated. There's about 3,500 point products. 90% of them focus on the enterprise. That's great. I used to be part of the enterprise sales teams. I used to sell in that space. That's happened over the last 20 years. AaDya, we believe the biggest marketplace that's underserved is small and medium-sized businesses. And that if you look at the employee side of the organization, it really has no relevance when you're someone wanting to have a breach within that organization. Many small businesses have a lot of your data, which is very valuable. They may have millions of dollars because of the type of vertical that they're in. So suggesting that an employee size of 10 employees, 20 employees, 30 employees isn't as informative or lucrative for the bad guys and gals is no longer valid. We also are seeing that the marketplace, and actually I needed to update this as of yesterday, is going to be a $3 trillion business by 2025. So for those of you that want to get into IT, cybersecurity, or any of those other technical areas, there are going to be huge opportunities for you in the coming months and years ahead, because cybersecurity is not going anywhere. If you look at some of the companies here, as I mentioned, they've done a great job building for the enterprise, but they really, in our opinion, have left small and medium-sized companies behind. We talked a little bit about my background. I would say the biggest key takeaway here is that even though I worked for all these amazing companies and thought I was prepared for starting a company, I really wasn't. There were bits and pieces that I pulled from each of these companies to build out AaDya as you see it today. Was very blessed that, and I shared this a lot, that Eastern took a chance on me. I applied to 5 colleges, and only Eastern accepted me. And if you're familiar with I think it's called the EDGE program, it used to be called the PASS program, where I was on probation for my first year. And I think it was the coolest thing on the planet because I wouldn't be standing here and got to work for all these amazing companies without you. So you should all be very proud that you're at Eastern. I believe it is at the forefront of many things. It is why I'm staying here today. Our team comes from many of these companies. So we do have a very big presence of team members here in Michigan, but we also have team members in California, Texas, Florida, New York, who used to work with me at McAfee, FireEye, if you will. So let's talk a little bit more about small businesses. 88% of small businesses believe that they will have a cybersecurity attack within the next year. 22% of them realize they're no longer prepared, especially as a majority of the world shifts to remote work. If you look at what they're challenged with, obviously remote work is a different animal than being a brick and mortar building when you're logging into your systems or accessing information. Managing users with multiple devices, you all know this. As each generation comes forward, you probably have 2 to 4 devices. If you look at your mobile, your tablet, mobile app, maybe a desktop for something else if you're in design. So the days of us all even checking one device are no longer valid in no matter space that you're working in. The rise of attacks is through the roof. If you think of it this way, 5 to 10 years ago, it was cool to hack the larger organizations. You heard it in the press. Target, Base, all those brands, right? Really feasible and cost-effective for hackers to go after those organizations. They now want to start with small businesses and usually work their way up into mid-market. And what you see is some of the best that we've seen over the last year, the ferry that was breached, the lava company that was breached, water municipality. These are different ways for them to find somewhere and lock down the organization and become much more comfortable by asking them for millions of dollars to unlock their business, right? So that's what we're seeing in small and medium-sized businesses. Everyone's moved to the cloud in one way, shape, or form. The minute you use your cell phone, you kind of give up your rights on your data. There are many different ways for you to still protect yourself and your organization. We always tell, from a personal perspective and even small businesses, your social security number is tied to everything. So you should definitely lock your social security number with all 3, with at least one of the credit bureaus. You should definitely turn on 2-factor for your bank accounts, my apologies. You should change things if it tries to withdraw money or some dollar amount. Those are some of the simplest things you can do that are free to be able to protect yourself or if you start a business. And then the last 2 are the game changer in small businesses. So if you're, studying for terminology like CMMC, NIST, SOC 2, PCI, HIPAA, those are all compliance frameworks that were intended to be for the enterprise, government agencies, hospitals to protect organizations as well as the data that they're sharing or who they're interacting with. Well, as you can imagine, even the federal government with a lot of small businesses, and so those frameworks are starting to push down into this space. And if they don't do it, they lose their revenue. So think of a marketing company that may work with the university to set up a website, and a hospital that is included in that university, they have to be now HIPAA compliant. Doesn't matter if they're 5 employees, 1,000 employees, because they're touching the data of the organization. So that's the first change that we're seeing with small businesses. The second is that everyone loves now is cybersecurity insurance. It's going to be a multi-billion-dollar business over the next year. Everyone feels that if they get cybersecurity insurance, they're protected. And they kind of are, in the way that if you are breached, they will likely write you a check to resolve it. But 3 years ago, you could check a box and suggest that you had cybersecurity tools. Now, there's a full audit. Underwriters got really swift and quickly after they wrote out a lot of checks for a lot of the breaches. Cybersecurity insurance is another big industry where they're saying you have to have 2-factor. You have to have a password manager. You have to have an endpoint protection. You have to have the ability to scan your devices and network. Now imagine again a small and medium-sized company that may have only a couple of IT team members, or maybe doesn't have a security team member, not being able to do that, which could impact them there as well in the insurance. And then the last thing that we always talk about is, you know, it's all cost prohibitive. A small and medium-sized company is not going to hire an InfoSec analyst for $90,000 to $150,000, right? Which is a great opportunity for all of you that get into cybersecurity. But think of that small and medium-sized business owner where they're not going to go work on it. They're probably going to go work for some of the bigger organizations so that they can learn and grow. And then maybe down the road, they do a startup or a small business. Does all the point products out there, as we know, require staff to maintain each of them. So if you're rolling out 8 products, you're not going to have 8 different people to maintain your password manager, your authentication, your endpoint protection, read the logs, right? And ensure that the scans that are being completed are accurate and caught any of the breaches. And then many of these customers don't even understand security requirements, which is okay. They just want to do the job, build their business and grow. And so that's where many of you and companies like AaDya can come in and done with that. Look at what we've built over the last 4 years. It's Judy. Judy is your all-in-one cybersecurity solution. She's AI machine learning. When you look at our brand, the colors, the terminology, and even the imagery of Judy being a strong woman persona, it was intentional to look through the lens of a small, medium-sized company. You've all seen what we've done to the enterprise, myself included. The guy with the hoodie, no face, dark colors, big red shield, the sky's falling, bills ending. That's not what a small and medium-sized customer wants to deal with. They get going every single millisecond that this so-and-so was breached, and millions of our credit cards, millions of our phone numbers, and millions of our social security numbers were lost yesterday. Well, by the time they put it in the press, it's usually 4 to 6 months later. Okay, so that already happened. They're just telling you because the PR department found out a way to position it, and that is the world that we live in. So I don't believe that there's anyone on the planet that doesn't know how bad it can get with cybersecurity. So why scare small and medium-sized businesses or use big words or acronyms that us in the industry understand that they don't need to or want to? So with Judy, we built 5 different pillars from the ground up over the last 4 years with a lot of work. It was really messy. If you saw the first version, which was not called Judy, you probably would have left us, and that's okay. You're starting a company, you have to put something out there to see what the reaction is, right? So you ever decided to start in your own company or work for a company, like have software processes or even hardware, it's okay to put things out there as long as you're willing to listen to the customer or listen to your partners to guide you to what you now see on the screen today. So with Judy 3.0, you do DNS filtering. So she scans for phishing, which is still #1 in the industry, regardless if you're small or medium-sized companies or even the enterprise. We've read any of the articles over the last few months. Some very large organizations were breached in cybersecurity based on a phishing link. So Judy takes that away. She sends it to the DNS layer. So what that is, she's looking at the domain, make sure that it's from Eastern Michigan University.org on email, or that in the document that you got, the links that you're clicking on really is a JSON. It really is Amazon. It's not a phishing site trying to get your password or collect your credit card information. If she sees something that looks fishy, no pun intended, she'll block it. And she warns the user, do not see. So it takes away that burden off us as humans to have to worry. Primarily the reason an organization is breached through phishing. When you look at secure authentication, this is the other area that finally technology has caught up. Judy's passwordless, so you don't have to use a password. With secure authentication, you get multi-factor. She has a mobile device. She'll send you a notification. You can use biometric, or you can use 4-digit. Then she logs you the same sign-on console, which is where all your passwords are encrypted to the device and able to log you into the apps. There is a password manager. That's there because she obviously needs to store everything encrypted. And we look through the lens of explicit trust. You've heard all the buzzwords, zero trust. Explicit trust means I never trust Raffaele's going to log in. So Judy's always, whenever you click into a new application, she's looking to see, is it really Raffaele's laptop? Is it really Raffaele's IP address? Then yes, I will encrypt the word, insert it, and log him into a CRM system. Endpoint protection is another thing we built from the ground up. Virus she's scanning for, she's looking for ransomware, MITRE attack, and spyware. If you're not sure what MITRE attack is, that's the new way of organization behavior. So looking to see that if your scan speed starts to spike up is there something leaking from your hard drive? All those things that are MITRE attacks are behavioral, and that's where you can block or remediate. We do have a SOC team. Our customers don't have one that's 24/7. You have to have learning when it goes back to compliance and with cybersecurity. And then last but not least, we automated the compliance framework. So everything here is what small or medium-sized businesses would need if they don't know it. You're probably thinking, well, how do you get them through this? Well, we ask them, who's your customer? And if they, Eastern Michigan University, if they say U of M Hospital, if they say Ford Motor Company, they're already in this bucket right here in compliance and don't even know it yet. You need all these pillars to continue to do business with them. The last but not least, most important piece of small and medium-sized businesses, no matter what you think or what I think, is price. We're going to look at price. And so Judy, we start at $14 per user per month, and then there's no gimmicks. It's unlimited devices. We're going to disrupt the industry. You can't limit someone by saying, well, it's $14, but you can only put it on your Apple iPhone and on your MacBook. But if you have bigger systems, we're sorry. You'll have to pay $50 more per device. We see a lot in the industry, because in the industry, it's believed SMBs and mid-market should pay more than enterprise. We do the reverse. Let's enable the small businesses with a price that they can afford, that they can work with. And a lot of our team members are from Eastern. So if you ever want to be an engineer, there's huge opportunities in cybersecurity. I will also say, if you ever want to be in marketing, sales, finance, HR, huge opportunities in cybersecurity. So cybersecurity is not just technical. And then yes, InfoSec, SOC team, all the other important pieces. But that's why I always encourage everyone. And we've been working with a couple of groups with Professor Tao, who have been examining our application, as well as how usability would work, and some of the members in this room. Your communication skills is the most critical path forward. Anyone in the industry can train you on the technical items. If you have components that are missing, and Eastern, I do believe, is at the forefront, and so that's a huge foundation over some of the other universities. Don't forget your communication skills. If you can't do what I'm doing right now, and you want to be a founder or have your own startup, you're going to have to learn something quickly, because you're going to be talking to a lot of people. You can't be shy. People are surprised to be an introvert. I get really, really nervous when I stand in front of the room. I overcome it with age and learning. And then also I had a great communications professor here at Eastern that used to beat me up when I was standing in front of the room. And I brought all three of them for that, because I learned a lot on how to communicate. But do know, no matter where you go, no matter what role you're in, even an InfoSec analyst that has to talk to the CMO of a company that they work for and guide them how they should protect their website or how they protect their devices, you have to have good communication skills. So that's it on the product and the data. That was kind of the pitch that we give to everyone, whether you're a customer, partner, or investor. And then, with Game of, Dean and Lisa, who's part of the Alumni Association, they said, well, why don't you tell us what is that? I get the question all the time. So, you want to start this? I think it's awesome. If you want to be a founder, it's awesome. I do wish there were some things that I would have known at the beginning that I may would have adjusted a little bit as we go forward. So I'll go through this quickly, and I promise I'll leave it open for you guys and gals to ask some questions. But I think that, I also have a sense of humor. The quickest way to tell you what it's like to be a founder is you're on your own at the beginning. There's a lot of great leaders who really are hanging off a cliff. I had no idea how to do payroll. Even though I worked at some of the biggest companies on the planet that were started small, I had no idea how to do payroll. I had no idea how to do the taxes for employees on payroll. I had no idea how to do benefits. I conceptually understood what I thought would be pricing, and I screwed that up in year one. So the first image, even though it's supposed to be a little funny, is you're kind of hanging on lift for a period of time on your own until you start hiring your team. When you start hiring your team, it's one of the most amazing things in life. You push that boulder way up the hill, and you're finally there. It's a whole other can of worms or complexity, whatever you word you use, in the fact that now you're managing people. So if you're an introvert or you're really technical and you want to be the owner of your own business or a founder, now you got to manage people that have different personalities, different needs, different aspects of personal life, whether families or single or merging families, right? That was a whole other can of worms. And I love our team, who probably down there now, that's not the issue. I just didn't understand what it meant when someone's an HR representative. It is a completely different world. That was a whole other area in learning in year 1 and 2. So, as I mentioned, you have to be able to tell a story. You got to be able to present. If you can't, get with people that will train you and teach you and give you candid feedback, professors, alumni. I always listen to pitches from EMU grads that are thinking about doing startups. But be able to tell that story in a way that you're excited. I hope you all sense that I'm excited about the opportunity of AaDya. I love Judy. Compared to where we were even a year ago, we didn't have Judy as a persona in marketing. And I do believe we're at the forefront of something because we're seeing our customers and partners. That has to convey from you if you want to start a business, become a founder. You better learn to love no. You may have seen my background. It had no relevance when I started the company. No from customers, no from investors, no from partners. You don't know what you're doing. This is brand new. You've never built any software. You've always deployed software as CIO. No, 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 no. That's okay, but you have to be ready for it. The key takeaway on this bullet point is when someone tells you no, you're not going to change their mind, but ask them why. Did you not like the design? Did you not like the way I said it? Did you not like the way we approach this? Take that as a founder or a startup and internalize it, and then go back out again, doing what they said you should do, either with updates to the product, or the way I'm positioning my story, or the way I'm marketing something, right? So you have to be not only ready to hear all these no's, you have to be ready to hear what is it, right? And if you're seeing a pattern, well, you said no because the marketing just didn't resonate, and you said no that the name that we used to have, which I doesn't sound right, and colors seem really, really scary. Okay, there's a marketing piece here, and why everyone is saying no, go back to the drawing board, start over again, right? Every day is a new adventure. I'll joke again. Someone, hit the Sheryl Crow song, "Your Day is a Windy Road." I wake up in the morning and day going, okay, this is my day, and by the end of the day, I'm like, wow, okay, I didn't do anything that was on my calendar, and I put out these 4 fires, these 10 wins, and so you got to be ready for a dynamic day. Not only in the start, but if you guys in cybersecurity, it's the same thing. So that part, I felt I was really prepared on, like as CIO of, Duo Security. Trust me, there were days I walked in going, oh my God, now it's a global company, and we're, So every day is a new adventure. It's fun. At the end of the day, your blessings on things that you were able to get done. Count your wins, celebrate them, small, big. But know that, you're going to probably have some cuts and bruises, and they get less and less as the company grows and other team members come in. But at the beginning, there's a lot of cuts and bruises. Hiring a team can be a hard one. I would say don't hire famers. You really want, that complexity we have as family members, and then bring it into your business, and then they're working for you. It can be really hard. You also want to be careful about bringing friends in. It's hard when you have to make some tough decisions and they're friends. So I think, you have to look through 2 lenses, and that aspect of being careful hiring friends and family. Then also, you're going to have all these people coming at you, which we did. Oh my God, I want to work at a startup. You've never worked at a startup. Are you sure you want to work at a startup? Well, yeah, but you have a family with 3 kids, and the salary is not going to be what you're making in an enterprise organization. So you really have to weed through and push back and almost talk them out of working at a startup, because no, it's not profitable at the beginning. No, it's not easy. No, you're not going to make 6 figures. Yes, you're going to get equity that could turn into something multi-million dollars, but that's 6 to 10 years down the road, right? It's not immediately up front, unless you're one of the amazing unicorns that found something that's going to save the world. But for hiring that team it's important that you really push back. If you start to see cancer or someone that's just not their weight, in small organizations, you don't have time to drag this out. It sounds heartless, but not everyone's meant to be in a startup. It's that simple. And so hiring that team is probably one of the hardest things ever. We have an amazing team, but that first year was really difficult. And then you as a founder, or I will say this, regardless of what you all decide to do in life, make sure you have the right support. And when you talk about it through the lens of cybersecurity in general, this is where you see a lot of people get burned out, health issues, or they change industries. So find your outlet, friends, family members, hobbies. I used to have teams at both FireEye and I'd be like, oh my God, you haven't logged out in 3 days. Can you please just go read a book or go shopping or anything, right? And they're like, oh, I'm going to save the planet. You hurt yourself physically and mentally. And so that's why you see a lot of burnout in cybersecurity and EMT. But you have to be extra careful. You're the lead of the company. And so how you get your support always be from the team. I have an amazing husband. Thank God he's not in cybersecurity. He's a doctor, professor realm. And then you got to take breaks. So working out, eating right, all the things we're told to do can have a drain on you as the founder and then impact the company, right? So your personal health is just important as everyone else's. So find those outlets and carve out time. I really don't work between 5:30 and 8 because I have younger children. So I love watching them do their homework, dinner, reading books, watching movies with them. When they go to bed, yes, I log back in, right? And I do whatever I need to do because we're now a global company. So that's what we mean by support health. So let's stop there. Open to any questions you have, non-technical, Judy, AaDya, or even what it's like to be a founder.
Opening the floor.
Thank you for the great presentation. So can you tell me the mindset behind the character Judy?
Yeah, so when you think about woman, our whole culture is about empowering women, and that's a big piece in tech right now with STEM. It has been the last 10 years. I still think we're behind. I think that flooding the marketplace with women in IT, cybersecurity, engineering is the coolest and most amazing thing on the planet. Nothing wrong with the guys in the room. But what I'm going to tell you is, when you have a cross-functional team with women and men, we all look through different lenses. What you're hung up on from a code perspective, a woman could look at it and go, oh, well, you need to do it this way. Or the cosmetics of what we see versus what they see. So even when I used to have a huge web team at McAfee, I loved having men and women involved because they play off of each other and learn and look through different lenses. So it's always been critical, because I grew up in Silicon Valley before moving back to Michigan, that enabling women in technology was a huge important for this. I believe in STEM with women. I'm raising 2 very strong women who, one wants to be an engineer after what she has seen at EMU on some of the presentations, as well as with my team. So that was a big piece for me personally when I started the company. If you look at our team, we have a lot of women on our team, which is unusual for a cybersecurity company, including in management. but it does. It changes the way we all work, and I view it as a positive. When we went to customers, we named this thing in 1.0, it was called Marzo, and that was because I'm Italian, and I just picked that we launched it on March 4th. That's all Marzo was. It was the biggest dot on the planet. It was the worst name on the planet. We spent so much money, horrible. So then we started saying, well, AI machine learning, what do you, and we pulled customers aside and said, well, what do you think about Alexa or Watson? And they all said the same thing, regardless if it was a guy or a woman. I don't want a guy telling me what to do in AI. They get feel it was offensive. Like, you were telling me to change my password, kind of that tone. We started bringing forward women personas, and they were like, I'm okay with this. You know, if you got a name, I'll be okay with it. So then we're like, great, now we got to find a name. And then you got to do trademarks and patents and everything else, which is a whole other can of worms in startups. Luckily, great attorneys. So we picked 2 names. Well, it started at 8, went down to 2, and the 2 names that started bubbling up were actually women in my life who passed away unexpectedly. One was a team member with me at McAfee, FireEye, and Duo. Her name was Stacy. So that was one of the names we pushed forward. And then Eastern met one of my closest friends' mom. Her name was Judy. When we would leave maybe some of the adult beverages across over on the cross street, we had to call Judy and let her know that we all got home. And so she was that motherly figure watching over all of us, the 6 of us that used to hang out with each other. So we bounced Stacy and Judy. Immediately everyone said, I love Judy. I think of my aunt, my cousin, my sister, Judy Garland, Judy Jetson. And then funny enough, I went to the patent attorneys and they said, Judy's available. You need to take this now. And so we did. And so that's what started as a name. And then in June, we launched the image after huge discussions, marketing team meetings, outsource groups, and we whittled it all the way down to even way she's working, which is intended to be like she knows something, but her hand is out, reaching out to you with the heart, to suggest that she's got you and she will protect you with the AI and then leading into each of the pillars. We went with a retro feel on pillars. If you look at all the logos and everything else, because the 80s and the 90s are back, and that was just a split-second change that everyone is loving. So that's how we have a women persona. People talk about her as she's part of the team, which we love. You know, Judy wasn't able to look for today, can you help me? I think Judy found a link that was a phishing link. Did it breach my system? We hear it from our customers now. So she's become this team member, which is exactly what we wanted on the globe.
Go ahead. As individuals are asking their questions, if you can make sure that you speak up so that it captures your voice through the speakers for Zoom.
Oh, sorry about that.
Not necessarily, just the audience.
All right, let's start here. I'll come back here. So when I started, one of the main things I focused on was finding a mentor. Did you have a similar process when you start, first of all, when you started cybersecurity, and then when you became a founder? I think it's a lot easier to have someone who has experience to bounce ideas off of.
So you have thousands of them right at your fingertip. Work with Lisa. Alumni love helping other students. We all do. I'm not the only one. I was telling President Smith in the first meeting, Facebook, one of the little people. I've got 350 people in my Facebook group that are all from East. We all graduated around the same time. All successful, different industries, men, women, leaders, and they all say the same thing. We love being at Eastern. We found Eastern in a way that when we go into corporate America, they're like, God, what university did you go to? Because we were so close-knit, which I know is still here, I can feel it. We all learned with each other, and now we're on the marketplace. So long way to answer your question, find alumni on LinkedIn, through the Alumni Association, absolutely. Let them be your mentors and be able to guide you in this crazy corporate, non-corporate world. Because there's thousands of us doing it today. And I'm confident 95% of them want to help you and be a mentor, or figure out a way through their connections that they could find you internships, which is, if you get into IT, cybersecurity, or whatever you want to do, you know, your alumni is the biggest pocket of mentors and people who have able you, and yes, you should identify them quickly.
Like free will.
Want help? I'm happy to help.
Right there.
So more and more nowadays, I noticed that in like startup companies and even established companies are starting to like bring things into the company. Like they have a food court now, or like a workout station, or you know, Google has a community sleeping chair. I was wondering, like, what's your opinion on like conjugating stuff into business?
I don't think there's the right or wrong answer between facilities where you have all those things where you can be on site and have other team members there with you. I also think the pandemic has changed the world in a way that all of us in the marketplace could have never imagined that working from home is fine. I mean, and if you look at all the companies I worked at, I always worked remotely. So, and I had teams in Bangalore, I had teams in Dallas, I had a team in California. So to me, and even in Europe, remote is just as fine. I think for me personally, if you ask, I lived in that world where I had the facilities, food always there. I started getting a little like, this is a lot to expect out of me to be in a meeting every day. So I enjoy remote work. I encourage all of our team work remote. We have a Detroit office, but it's predominantly more like a hotel where you can go in and get away from your family if you're locked up in your house all day. If you want to go have lunch with the team, they have a place to go. So I don't think there's anything wrong with her. I just think you personally have to understand when you go to get that first, second, or third job, is that always going to be an expectation of you, and is that what you're going to want? Because yes, a lot of larger companies now are shifting back to working on site, but it's really up to you personally. There's nothing wrong with either one.
So I'm just one of those weirdos who loves to work stuff.
I'm sorry?
I'm one of those weirdos who loves going into work stuff.
That's okay. And you know what? As you start your careers, it's probably best to go, because then you can feed off of other team members and learn together. So it's not a bad thing. It's just that, you know, depending on what you're doing, like our engineers, they love engineers. I've been here in the room. I love all of you, but they're night owls. They love working on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like when the ring really starts to expand and find these amazing things that none of us could ever think of, they're working at home because then they can sleep. They bounce back online. They don't have to do the hour drive. Whereas you might say, well, I'm starting my career and I want someone to learn, then that's the company you should work for.
Question. As you guys have been implementing Judy into other companies and like you have your customers, have you been able to like add on how Judy has been working with these companies, how successful she is at doing these tasks? I don't know if you have information, it might be a little bit biased, but just like you as the founder, how do you see the success of Judy is?
I think, well, Judy's success has really started this year. We did some design changes based on what the customers and partners have told us. We now have 7,000 users using Judy globally. So we're on the right track. We still have some things, funny enough, that I mentioned. Professor had us do groups where they tested Judy from a technical perspective and usability perspective. And then we had another group who looked at how easy it is to install Judy, learn Judy, and enable the user with Judy. They brought things forward that we could have imagined so quickly, and why. I have a lens of Judy. I've been looking at Judy for 3 years. I'm not going to see all the nuances anymore. I'm also, even though I started in sales, I was CIO and I become this technical mind, which scares me sometimes. So I don't, when I'm like, oh, that wasn't too hard. Oh yeah, I got a right click, I got to do this. A new user who's not technical could become paralyzed, right? So as an example, with Judy in our single sign, once you turn it on, it's a screen. We thought that was cool because then you could add, Judy's grabbing your passwords and would add them. They were all saying in the user groups, I don't know what's going on. It's not doing anything. It's just a blank screen. And even just boom, last night, we were like, okay. Immediately, the engineering team went back to the drawing board. We're adding some automation to say, Judy is loaded. Let's load your first password. And that's going on in 3 weeks. So you should always be ready as a founder or a startup. As much as I love my startup and I love Judy, and they always say, "Founder, that's your baby." You got to be ready to change some things to be able to continue to build the masses. So I think we are 90% where we need to be on the product. It's that last UI usability piece that we're going to focus on, and we will get to 100%.
Yes.
So, my question is, what kind of like students?
If you can raise your voice a little bit because we have online people.
Oh, okay. So my question is, so since you're the founder, I wanted to know what are some things that students here at Eastern Michigan University could do to build up the characteristics, skills in order to be a founder in the future, want to build up a business?
Definitely your job somewhere, because that's the fastest way for you to learn all different types of a business. Even though you might be in engineering or sales, you still get to see how those other functions work, and you're going to have to be able to do that as a founder. So the fastest way to do that is to be part of a company for a year and learn what they're doing. There are a lot of mentor groups for founders. So like TechStar is one that's in Detroit. They also are have an Ann Arbor, like Spark. So you can even go into those different mentor programs, and they can help you build your business as well as learn how to be a founder. So those are kind of the two that right off the top of my head do quickly to prepare yourself for what's coming. And I forgot to answer your second part of your question. The analytics that we have on Judy is very thorough, and it's enabling our channel partners to sell even Judy, and as well maintain their customers. OS is out of date. Judy would know it, enable notify them. Founder vulnerability they weren't even aware of on their network through the logs. So our partners are loving the analytics and visibilities that they have with their customers. Sorry, got to answer.
Yeah.
We have a question here.
I have a question, two questions if that's okay. The first one, you briefly kind of mentioned the disadvantages of working for a startup, but I'm wondering if there are any advantages for working for a startup, especially when it comes to making an impact. And my second question is more marketing related. Does Judy have a social media presence? Because I think there is a lot of opportunity there from an educational perspective, especially for younger students, K through 12, and she could be kind of an instructor for everybody. I don't know.
Yeah, on the second one, I'll answer for you. You've obviously been talking to our marketing department. That's the plan, and that's where they're going. So the social media sites won't let you have Judy as a person. We tried it because she's not real, kind of thing.
Really?
Yeah, like LinkedIn and some of those others. Yeah, but they are working on that to create her persona and really her be the voice.
So should I change my major to marketing?
You can, yeah. On this part, I think you imply that there's not amazing things about startups, but I think you all hear about it. Yes, someday you're a unicorn, billion-dollar business. If you were the first 100 employees, you're going to be a millionaire because stock that you own. I think that the soft things about a startup that are just amazing. You get to work in small teams, so you can know each other. Hopefully, you all like each other. You also get to work with in a way that fits your lifestyle. So, if you were marketing, you might be able to just, work normal hours, or you do like working weekends and it gives you Monday off, right? So the benefits in startups are huge. It's usually work-life balance, small teams working together. You're all driving towards the same goal. Building something and then watching it go is just amazing. This was on a napkin, and it was very, I literally saw a napkin. They made me frame it, and it was just, loose terminologies for each pillar of what I thought we would do. So to see a collective group of team members build this from that napkin is just amazing. Watching customers love Judy is a whole nother, like, when you have a kid, you're like, oh my God, I had no idea that it would be so well, received. And then watching the marketplace start to go, wait a minute, there's this little startup in Detroit, Michigan. Something's happening because all we hear about is the Dan and Judy, and we're not even at the part yet, but our marketing team spends a lot of money. That's that grassroots effect that gets really exciting.
I love Judy and I want to be her friend.
Yeah, and we do that all the time.
So there's so much tech news these days, like so much to keep up with. So for a student, what are your suggestions to like keep up to date with all the cybersec news, tech news, and everything else, without the thought of fear of missing out on something?
Follow hashtags on any social media that are cybersecurity, information technology, malware, ransomware. There are many news outlets that you can, like dark web, you could read. And I usually spend 15, 20 minutes in the morning reading about them, and I move on. I mean, the thing about cybersecurity, it changes in milliseconds. So spend 15 minutes per day, and you don't generally have a conception of what's going on in the world. You might see some brand name things that are going on, vulnerabilities that are explosive, like Chromebook last week. I mean, their new 0-day patch was so big that it was a little scary how many things they had to fix that were potential breaches. Those are the things you should know about. But I think after 15, 20, 30 minutes, just sit down and get into the real world. And if you're working at a cybersecurity company or you're working in a security team, your peers are going to keep you up to date as well, right? Or the customers. And that just starts that engine in you, and you won't fall behind.
So how much these components depend on each other? So let's say if your customer for some reason does not want to use your endpoint detection response, they want to use carbon black, for example. So can that still be integrated within the whole environment of Judy?
Yeah, so we built Judy to be flexible. We built it through the lens of small business owners. So when I was at McAfee, we used to go, God, I love that one part of the product, but my renewal's not done yet. So we have this perception in our mind that we're going to waste money by moving over before the renewal date. So you can roll out EDR alone. With secure authentication and password manager and Judy, they have to go together. That's the whole heart of it. You can roll out DNS filtering alone. And then, yes, our SOC team and learning and compliance can be done alone as well. So there is flexibility that our partners do sell that way, because once you get even a piece of Judy in, she starts to win the organization in a way that most IT individuals, especially in the mid-market, go, I can't believe how easy it was. I can't believe how many things she found. I'm ready to start rolling out these other pillars. We've seen that over and over again with some of the most technical, skeptical IT individuals at these organizations, and they'll say, fine, I roll out one, and then all of a sudden they start rolling out all of them, which is what you want, whether it's all at once or over a period of time as a startup.
Very good. Dr. Che, come back to you.
I have a question. So, from a business point of view, I know that many startups are facing a threat is how do you maintain the competitive advantage from other companies? How do you, if I'm a uniform funding PC, how do you convince me that I'm going to invest to you than your competitors?
Our team. We hear it all the time. Our team sells them a data. Judy's amazing from a technical perspective, but once they start interacting with our team, whether it's a partner or a customer, they see the joy in the team. So you want your team to be happy and love you because it comes across into their customers. And the way we approach them. So think of it this way. Small medium-sized companies are usually told, you can't talk to anyone. You need to do something. You open a ticket, it'll go into a queue, and we'll get to it in 24 to 48 hours, right? But the enterprise, I pick up the phone immediately because, oh my God, it's GE. Nothing wrong with GE, but you see what I'm saying. You see where I'm going. We don't do that. If you call us, we answer. I don't care if you're one employee, 30, 400 employees. There's something going on. And as it is, people always test us, but then they're like, wow, they say all small, medium-sized businesses should be treated the same way and have the same opportunity and security tool sets as everyone else. That's what we do. So the people of AaDya immediately transform some of the biggest naysayers. And then yes, when we have the more technical team members, they'll download Judy, put her in a lab, throw as much at it as possible, and they see that she's enterprise grade, not watered down. Immediately they're ready to move their customers over. But the people of your organization represent you, and they are your biggest sellers, regardless of what part of the company they're in, just simply by their presence with your customers, your partners, and interact with each other. And we're very lucky. We have an amazing team.
Go ahead. So one of the main things I've been focusing on, I much enjoy cybersecurity investment and leadership. So I'm one of the boards of the Cybersecurity club here at Eaton, and I'm running for president of the club. And I find that, personally for me, doing something is the best for me, right? So I've been learning leadership. I'm a very social person. I find some things are rare to happen. Like, we don't really have a lot of issues. When there is, it's usually something that's behind it. What are good ways to learn leadership in general? And then how would you suggest that I use that in my career going forward? Like, I kind of think, when I think of my path, I would go boots on the ground work at first, learn that, be good at that, and then go into leadership. So how would you say transition from the cybersecurity role probably into this business and cybersecurity role as well? So there's too much.
Well, if you're running for an organization where you'll be president, I'm assuming there'll be other team members that have to support you in the organization, treasurer, honors, all those components.
That's one of my.
That's the same thing as corporate America. So yes, I know it's not cool anymore, but yes, I was president of a fraternity here at EMU. And I would say I learned a lot of business skills because I had to work with the treasurer, I had to work with the sergeant of arms, I had to work with our social chair, we had to work with other organizations, we had to work with EMU, and when there were things that were good or bad, right? So that will give you some foundation on what's coming. I think you're right. All of you, as you go into the marketplace, should start on whatever role you're trying to get into and not jump into management immediately. Management's usually after 2 to 5 years of you being in corporate America. And even then, you have to go through some extensive training and understand like what I talk about, the HR stuff, and how you manage people, how you engage with them, how you make them want to keep doing what they're doing and building those amazing teams. It takes time.
So question here. Yes, go ahead.
Loved your presentation. Thank you so much. I got 2 questions for you.
Sure.
My first question is can we know who the real Judy was at Eastern Michigan University?
She wasn't at Eastern. Her daughter was.
Her daughter was.
Yes.
Okay. And then the second question is you're starting to sell this technology for $14 a month or $14. Do you plan on like increasing that? What's kind of the strategy behind that?
We're not going to increase Judy Essential. Think of it this way. You all charge something on your credit card and $14 a month. And think about it. Max, Disney Plus, Netflix. You're probably paying about $100 to $150 a month on your credit cards. Maybe, or you'll get there. If you're not yet. With all the streaming and apps and everything you guys are buying. Judy Essential is meant to be priced like a Netflix package. So she'll pay around $14 a month
Okay.
per year, unlimited devices. You were price out the Essential package alone, you'd probably be paying $50 to $60
Okay.
with all the different point products that you'd have to order to do the same thing. That's going to be our entry into the marketplace. From there, what we see is customers then say, well, God, wait a minute, they have a stock team. And I keep losing stock team members to other organizations. I can't hire them. I'm going to move to Advanced, which is $40, right? And now I get a SOC team because our network isn't that complex. We have a Meraki, we have Wi-Fi, and maybe a router. That's it. Great. Then you see they go, well, God, now we can add all these servers servers, everything else, because we're starting to grow, we multiple locations. We have premium, that's $65. So even marketing and how you go to market can be a lead-in with some form of a product, and then watch your customers grow. It doesn't have to be punitive at the front end, in our opinion, where if I wanted to be like the enterprise companies of the 500 point products out there, we could charge $100 per user just for Judy Essential, but no one's going to order it. And it doesn't align to what a small or medium-sized company really needs for them to be enabled.
Fantastic presentation. Thank you for taking time to talk to us today. I've got questions. So you worked for a number of different organizations prior to this. Where was the time where you said, you know what, I've got to make something, you know, I've got this idea. Where does that seed happen in your mind? And what was kind of the cause of that?
Well, my family is Italy, so I'm first generation. Everyone in my family is entrepreneurs. Uncle owns pizza places here in Michigan. So I used to work at Benito's. If you ever ordered Benito's, that's my uncle. So from a very young age, I was turning pizzas and burning my arms in the big ovens as they were coming out. I shared that because I learned a lot from him and watching him. I also learned from my other uncle from a bunch of hair salons. I watched my dad, who was a gourmet chef. I think when your parents are immigrants, there's two things that are burned into our brains. Don't let them down, because they give us a huge opportunity compared to probably where they came from. My whole family are farmers in southern Italy and not very wealthy. And then two, they just work, and they work so hard, and you go, so by the time I got into corporate America, I'm like, I was working 90, 100 hours a week in the restaurant industry. So I started at Benito's, and then I went and worked at Max and Irma's, Chuck E. Cheese. You really learn in the restaurant industry working lots of hours, and it's really hard. And it is entrepreneurial in a way, right? You're interacting with customers. Did I screw up your I'm so sorry. We're going to comp your dinner. We're going to buy you a drink. Was the service okay? Did the product come out okay? So even in the restaurant industry, I started learning things that I still use today. So in the back of my mind, I always wanted to run a business. I just didn't know what it was. When I graduated from Eastern, it was a communication major, geography minor. The minor was so I could graduate. My counselor wanted to kill me because I was like, wait, I can't just graduate? No, you're a minor. And I'm like, what's the fastest way to get that minor done? I love the geography department. It's pretty cool to do one here. Take us off track. But when I transitioned from restaurants to Dell computers, that was my first taste of something that hit me to the core. Like, wow, computers are really cool. This is at Dell when it was Combat, Gateway, and Dell. You know, the cows running down the field, you know, and Dell's coming in out of nowhere. In the late 90s, I loved it. I had no idea. You know, again, I'm showing my age, I'm sorry. We got this thing called email outlook. We got this thing called internet. I'm like, this is the coolest thing on the planet. We were getting calls coming to our queue that were like companies that exploded because we were in the small, medium size. So AOL.com came through, Yahoo, you know, all these amazing companies that are Google that are now big behemoths. That was that first taste of, God, this is an amazing industry being attacked. And I just kind of fell into these companies going, wow, cybersecurity, that's awesome. But I share that with you. I guess what I'm saying is, through that lens of all of that, I knew I wanted to build business. But then when I got to between McAfee and FireEye, I started noticing, these figuring out with small and medium-sized companies, and it always sat in the back of my head. And then when I was at Duo, it was like I started seeing how they were doing it with multi-factor, and then I thought in the back of my head, God, I leave Duo. If anyone could ever solve something for small businesses with all the tools that they could get and need, they would do it well. And then that's where it just became napkin design in the back of my head, and then I wrote it down after I left Duo. And I guess because of age and opportunity, I just said, if I'm going to do it, I do it now. And I took that leap and did it. I wouldn't change anything. I'm a firm believer your path in life is going to learn what you need to learn. It's going to guide you to something. But those four companies, that is what AaDya is today, good or bad, and people, technology, and customers.